So good morning, good morning. So as we go over this, I do want to tell you a few housekeeping. If you have any questions, please feel free to write your questions in the chat. There's a chat feature here in Zoom, and you can actually write your questions in, and Rhea Stone will be answering those, as well as an opportunity for a question and answering session at the end of this. For those of you that need to log out and can't stay, we completely understand. But for those of you that would like to stick around, we will be here to answer your burning questions that we hope to be able to answer for you. So welcome on in. Good morning to each and every one of you. I am Elizabeth Fletcher, HR Manager with ClickOnHR. And we are excited to be here with you this morning. So please meet your premier virtual HR team with over 35 years combined experience for various HR needs. In any company, of course, human resources issues are sometimes the ones that get away quickly, magnifying and worsens by the minute at times, which is why we offer on-demand services to put your mind at ease by simply calling us, as we're only one click away. So we help startup companies and fast-growing U.S. businesses with outsourced virtual HR services. And for today's webinar, again, you are encouraged to use the chat function so that you can ask us any questions that you may have, and we'll gladly be answering those for you. So to say that things seem a little chaotic right now would be quite an understatement. And a lot of companies and people are working and interacting digitally. You may find that your interviews are now happening online, either through Skype, Zoom like we're on now, Google Hangouts, or a variety of other programs. I hope to provide you with a few tips to make the most of your upcoming virtual interviews or your professional presentations. Due to current events like the coronavirus pandemic and the sudden need to bring many positions online, virtual interviews have also become a necessity when traditional interviews cannot take place face-to-face. Many professionals are now working from home or pursuing new positions remotely, and the hiring process have become increasingly virtual as a result. So mastering the virtual interview is often one of the first steps towards a follow-up interview and subsequent employment. So here's how you can increase the likelihood that an employer will ask you in for round 2 of an interview. So as we all know, a virtual interview, or video interview, as some of you may call it, is a job interview that leverages video technology to allow the discussion to take place remotely. And right now, we all know that's very necessary as we keep safe. So rather than meeting face-to-face, the hiring manager and candidate will connect with each other online using various softwares. The tools required for this kind of meeting typically includes a computer with a built-in or external video camera and a microphone, a reliable internet connection, and headphones if desired. A video interview often follows the style of a traditional interview, so keep that in mind. But following this, we're going to go over 5 great tips for you so you can ace your interview. So as with any interview, as you see, it is imperative that you are prepared before you begin. Preparation is definitely key. Make sure that you research the company, understand the position, and make sure that you do your due diligence and making sure that you have all the information to reflect your matching skills. So we're going to test your technology as the first one. Technical skills are considered one of the top competencies employers look for in new hires, and hiring managers are able to gauge your abilities easily during the virtual interview. Avoid potential technical glitches by testing your equipment before the call. If your video conferencing software produces grainy visuals or muffled audio, it might be time to invest in an external webcam or a microphone. You should also secure your internet connection. Nothing stifles conversations quite like a drop call, mid-persuasion point. For those of you that are not so tech savvy, and I know it's a lot of you out there, this is very important for you, especially to ensure that your testing goes sufficient and doesn't make you seem to be unable to handle technology, especially in this day and age. The second one is dress for success. Projecting professionalism goes way beyond your email address and your username. For virtual meetings, dress as though you're preparing for an actual in-person interview. Wear your best suit, your best dress, your best attire, and if you can, stick to the basis of traditional colors or jewel tones. And those jewel tones are some of the colors that I actually have on now, like your rubies or your emeralds. They seem to come across the computer much better because these colors have the right amount of saturation for all skin types and will prevent washing you out under harsh lighting. So also avoid any overpowering patterns or flashy accessories so as not to divert the employer's attention from your expertise. You should be the focus of the interview, not your wardrobe. Now, let's be candid. I know a lot of us are working from home, right? So our dressing has become much more lax than normal. And even some, even some of you that, dress from the waist up, we want to make sure that we're very, very being cognitive so that you don't accidentally move, stand up on the wrong angle, the camera, anything like that. You want to dress in its entirety as much as possible so that it helps you remember professionally. Do the same grooming that you would face to face, get you in the mindset and the zone. While the typical joke of wearing sweatpants during a Skype interview might be funny, it won't be as funny when an employer finds out that, you didn't take the interview serious. So don't take that chance. The color of your background can also help determine what to wear for a virtual interview. If possible, sit in front of a blank background so that you remain the focal point. If your house is void of empty walls, such as you see my background here, set up in your home office or your living room, whichever area looks the most business-like, okay? And always make sure that the space is clean before embarking on a video call. The messier background is kind of harder to convince the hiring manager of how detail-oriented or organized as an employee that you might be. Also, check your lighting. And another tip point, don't forget that even software such as Zoom or your Teams or whatever device they have you on, you can set up a virtual background. And also another quick trick that I like to tell you about is you can also definitely use a plain white sheet, like an actual sheet that you would use on your bed, and just set it up like a background as if you're a photographer. And that works too. So pause. Picture this. You ever turned on the cable news and the person that's talking is at the bottom of the screen, right? With a whole lot of empty ceiling above. You ever see this? No, I didn't think so. So position yourself. You actually want to get your computer in front of you, squarely in the middle as much as possible of the frame, with you nicely lit, smiling face, filling up at least 1/3 of the space. And this is important. I've been on enough video calls the last 3 months, like a lot of you, and we all know that we could use a little help looking our best. So from virtual weddings these days to meetings, we are all of a sudden, these experts as production and all of this, and making sure that the cameras and everything is perfect. So just as many of you, I'm no stranger to having the camera ready at all times, and even in imperfect spaces at times too. So we want to light our face, right? It's best to start with lighting because that will dictate where you're sitting, right? Open up your shades, let the natural light pour in, but don't let that light hit your back. You don't want to have too many shadows that's coming in. So I recommend having your largest light source either right in front of you or no more than like 45 degrees away from directly in front of you. Also be aware that your screen can be a large source of light. So adjust your screen brightness too, especially if you're taking a call without the natural light. A bright screen can blow the highlights on your face out, making you look more like Casper the Ghost than a video call champion, because we want to do this as best as possible, best practices. So raise your camera. There's one and only one acceptable camera angle, and that's head at eye level. Your table is almost certainly going to be lower than your face, and that means people are going to get an unflattering look up at you. So use a set of books, possibly a stool or a higher table that makes your camera at the same level as your eyes, such as this. You don't want people to feel like they're looking down at you or up at you or looking at some of those nasal areas, right, too. especially while we're at home. So this is a visual of what kind of would seem good and bad. Not saying that her glasses are a distraction, but just saying that, you know, getting that right angle is very important. So as we master this virtual interview, you want to monitor your body language. Unfortunately, that firm handshake that we've practiced for years and enthusiasm that you typically would greet your employees with during an in-person interview, it won't translate via the video, okay? So instead, convey confidence through your body language. Sit up straight, smile, and keep the camera at eye level to avoid, like I said, looking up or down. Research shows that employers are more likely to remember what you said if you maintain the eye contact, like letting them know I'm talking directly to you. So be sure to keep your eyes focused on the camera, not the screen image of yourself or the hiring manager. Kind of makes it easier as you converse. So smiling while speaking also helps with you coming across friendly and open to engage. You know, I don't want you to feel like you're being corny by sitting there and talking like this with your teeth just straight and all fixed. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be super excited to have this opportunity and feel it. Feel the confidence coming through. So as a pro tip, one of the things that I like to do is while you're write your talking points down on Post-it notes. And you can place those notes all around the screen to avoid shuffling papers or clicking around during the call. It allows you to keep your eyes around. And especially if you're nervous, it keeps your focus there when they don't know that you've had some of these tips around. So also rid yourself of distractions. Virtual interviews come with a slew of distractions that you wouldn't normally have to deal with when you travel into the employer's office, as we know. So be sure to do what you can to eliminate those potential interruptions on your end prior to beginning the video call. Turn off the TV, silence your cell phone, and close the window to muff out any honking noises or blaring sirens if possible. Now, while you can't plan for every distraction, particularly if you have children, the more prepared you can be, the better. Trust me, I understand the distractions of our children while at home. I'm a mom, I have a 4-year-old, and she nor I thought that we'd have this work from home office as a new norm. However, each and every day we get better and better with clear communication, expectations, and definitely a schedule for the both of us. Schedules certainly help, especially with those younger ones that need to know what's happening next. So practice some answers to some common interview questions. This is one of those things where, you know, there's no way to know exactly what a hiring manager is going to ask you. But there are some common interview questions that you can prepare for, considering prepping those answers to the following to ensure that you put your best foot forward, even on camera. So tell me about yourself. I sigh with this. This is the bittersweet question that, you know, we always ask, right? So have your elevator speech or your quick synopsis ready. It's a good practice because that's often the very first thing that an interviewer is going to ask you. So whether you're having a preliminary phone screen, speaking to your prospective boss, or even sitting down with the CEO during a final round, it might seem like an easy win. After all, you know all about yourself, right? But responding to this invitation to talk about you in the context of a job interview can feel stressful and complicated. If you answer it well, the interviewers will begin to find out why you are the best candidate for this job in terms of hard skills and experience, as well as, you know, those soft and complicated. So it's a great opportunity to demonstrate that you can communicate clearly and effectively, connect with and react to other humans, and present yourself professionally. Why are you leaving your job? This is not the time to criticize your current employer. Focus instead on where you want to take your career and the positives of the role you're interviewing for, particularly the skills listed in the job description that you want to acquire. What are your salary requirements? Negotiating your salary requirements preparations, use sites like Glassdoor, PayScale, and even salary.com to find the average wage for the position that you're applying for, then match that number against your education, your experience, and the location to determine a salary range that you're comfortable with. It's always easier to, of course, not negotiate down. So if asked your desired pay, respond with the highest number. If the number isn't feasible, but you really want the job, ask what flexibility there is in terms of benefits such as healthcare, vacation time, retirement, and also professional development opportunities. I consider that to be the total package. What are your weaknesses? Employers want an authentic answer here, not a "I work too hard." The key is to share a negative, but explain how you turned it into a positive. For example, perhaps you are not strong at delegating tasks per se. Opting to instead say to tackle the work yourself, say that, but also describe the process you put into place to make a more effective leader and help you to avoid that micromanaging projects part. Why should we hire you? This question is an intimidating one, but enables you to summarize your experience and emphasize the unique strengths you bring to the role and the results you've already proven that you can deliver. This is another occasion where the Post-it with your notes can definitely come in handy. Jot down those high-level ideas so that you feel more prepared if the interviewer does pose any of those questions. Just avoid memorizing your responses. You want the conversation to flow naturally, not feel forced or rehearsed. And lastly, don't forget to prepare questions of your own to ask the hiring manager afterwards. You don't want to get to the end and they're like, do you have any questions? And you're like, nope, I answered it all. There's no way that we covered everything. So definitely have some questions ready. So you just ended the virtual interview and of course you nailed it, but you're not done yet. In fact, most hiring managers pay very close attention to how well and how rapid you write a thank you email after the interview. This is not outdated information. This is not too old school. Treat the video interview and the information of following up just as you would an in-person meeting and properly follow up. Follow up within 24 hours of the meeting. Send that email to whomever you've chatted with, thanking him or her for taking the time to speak with you. If there's a question that you wish that you have answered differently or a point that you wanted to elaborate on, this is definitely your chance. So keep that email concise. My advice, start your follow-up as soon as humanly possible by writing a killer interview thank you note. Let them know that you are definitely interested in it, and they'll appreciate that for sure. So some things to remember right here for your do's and your don'ts. Video interviews definitely don't have to be intimidating or scary. Like any other interview, come in prepared, look polished, and act professionally. There's no way a recruiter will be able to tell you no if you do that. Smile and make that eye contact. While you're talking to a screen, it may be more difficult to pick up on those social cues or think about your own, but you don't have to be grinning from ear to ear or staring wide-eyed at the screen throughout the entire interview. And you also don't want to seem robotic. Above all, let your personality shine throughout the interview, even if it's not face-to-face. And that's the most important part too. Just let it flow naturally, or like I like to say, organically. So we invite you to follow us on all of our social media outlets and also schedule your free 30-minute consultation today. If you're not ready for us to be your premier virtual HR team, but you know other companies that might be, go to our website and complete the referral program for another form of cash payments, especially if they sign up. So for those of you that can stick around a little longer, we want to continue to answer any questions that you may have. Put it either in the chat, or you can even go down and even unmute yourself if you'd like to. Let's see, let me go to the chat and see if there's been any questions in there. Let's see. Okay. So for those of you, again, that have to log out, we definitely thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see, I have a question, yay. I am pursuing a career in HR and looking into obtaining HR certifications. Which path should I take? The HRCI search or the SHRM search? Thank you. Great question. I think that this one, to be honest, I like to be very transparent. This is a subjective question. I do know that the SHRM certifications have become so much more popular. This is something that I too am looking into. I have my master's in HR, but certifications is definitely an awesome thing to have. So kudos to you for wanting to embark on this journey, first of all, for sure. But I would say my personal opinion would be the SHRM from the research that I've done within my network. I would say definitely looking to get into HR, it's very important to have mentors. Very important to have HR mentors that you can reach out to and ask them what worked best for them and take a poll. I know a lot of people that actually have certifications in both of these. So it all depends on that industry of HR that you'd like to be into and which is most popular. So for me, I have more experience in oil and gas and healthcare. Next question, how can you explain gaps of employment if you were obtaining citizenship? Oh, good question. So for me, I love resume writing and everything. I love resume writing and everything. So when you're explaining those employment gaps, I would definitely say be very transparent with the interview. A lot of times people want to know your story. So I would say definitely to practice this. But if you were obtaining citizenship, it's okay to say, you know, that you were looking to make a place call home. When you're filling out the application, a lot of applications ask you about your citizenship to know if they can sponsor you and different things. I would say go with the flow of the interview. For me, I like to tell people, be somewhat on a don't ask, don't tell basis when it comes to interview, not to over talk it. Sometimes you may want to wait till the second round after they've gotten to know your skills and your expertise. But employment gaps are not always bad. It's just how you convey them. A lot of times, especially here in Houston, it's a big, I say like consulting type of area where a lot of people have contract positions. So it may be a gap there. I would just say practice on the question and make sure that you feel comfortable with telling your story as transparent as possible and at the right time too. I'm loving the questions rolling in. If y'all have any more questions, please feel free, drop it in the chat and or follow us on the social media. As you see, we have all of the information here too. You're more than welcome on how to be able to reach us. Are there any more questions? Let's see. How do you respond if you were let go, terminated from your last job? So I would say definitely to make sure that you have a lesson learned from it. Okay. So make sure you have a lesson learned. So when they're asking you about if you were let go, make sure that you be transparent about being let go. You definitely don't want to not tell the truth on your application, but it's very important to make sure that you have a lesson learned. So I like to call it the STAR method. You have a situation, a task, and then a resolution. What is the A for? Situation, task. Basically like the steps that you took. So to say that when you were terminated, you may say, yes, I was let go because, you know, I lacked meeting the deadlines properly. However, I have now grown as a professional and I have taken courses that has taught me how to meet deadlines and properly plan my desk. In fact, I actually have a copy of my certification for you today that you can review. I've actually also been embarking upon Lean Sigma. You get what I'm saying? So basically you are explaining how you have overcome the trials of why you were terminated. So don't just say I was terminated and you give the reason, but you've done nothing on your part to actually make that better. And that's going to be very important. Let's see. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, we have a couple more questions coming in, Elizabeth.
Yay. Okay, I see now. Thank you. Okay, so I see, how can I do well on my next virtual interview after answering a questionnaire but not going into great details before? If they give me another opportunity to speak with them, how can I do well on my next virtual interview? Oh, okay. So how do you do well the next time? Well, you know, practice makes perfect. For virtual interviews, especially since it's new to a lot of us, you can also actually record yourself. Like, how would you interview? And practice on making sure you answer the question. I think that, like I said, that STAR method is very important to make sure that you are answering what they're asking you, and making sure that you're making yourself comfortable with actually answering it. So if they give you another opportunity to speak with them, I would definitely say, you know, practice on it before, but also follow with an email. It's okay to even tell some of them hey, I was a little nervous, but I definitely thank you for the opportunity. If you like, I'd like to discuss a little more about my skills and expertise. I even have a few referrals for you. Like, that's why that follow-up email can definitely come into handiness, can definitely come in, be handy, because it allows you to then express yourself as professionally but still concise as possible. Let's see, are hiring managers going to be lenient towards layoffs as a result of COVID-19? I would hope so. Like, I definitely believe that this is more of a cultural question of a company too. Their culture will tell you a lot about them if they're not. This is not just a Texas thing. If you're in Texas, this is not a United States situation. This is a worldwide pandemic. People know for a fact that everyone, that most companies, big and small, are going through these layoffs. So I'm definitely pretty positive that a hiring manager will be lenient towards their layoffs, especially doing stuff like this, does not mean that you were the lesser of the performers, or that you were not doing your job by doing the best of what you were supposed to do. So don't be shy to have been laid off or furloughed, permanently laid off, any of that due to COVID. Is volunteer work still acceptable when not employed? It is definitely acceptable. I would say definitely make a section on your resume called volunteerism, and make sure that they know that you volunteered it. But that's how you get the practice. Practice, is everything. That's like an internship still. So if you're volunteering, and even, I guess I can coincide this question with the person that said they wanted to get into HR, for example. If you're volunteering to help an HR firm, or you reach out to ClickOnHR, for example, and you say, hey, Rhea, I'm looking to get in HR. I would love to volunteer and help out or do this and that. Volunteerism is definitely acceptable. It allows you to get the practice that you need and make those mistakes without risking your actual employment. It also allows you to get more references as well, too. That way, the employer for the person that you volunteer with can then give you a nice recommendation. And networking is key. Let's see, what's important to mention when transitioning from one career field to another and may not have all the experience in the new field? It's called transferable skills. That definitely is definitely important to be put on the resume. I like to say that the resume gets you the interview then gets you the job. So it's very important to have those transferable skills with almost everything you can transfer, especially when it comes to the customer service. Those tangible things and your interpersonal skills can definitely be transitioned. So do your research and find out what it is you do now and what it is that you can bring from that to bring to what you'd like to do. And again, it's called transferable skills. A lot of people do it all the time. You move from one job to another, and you bring some of the things that you've learned from there, and you pick up new things that you've learned from the next, no matter the industry too. Let's see. Do we have any more questions?
Elizabeth, I have one comment to add. This is Rhea, by the way. To the person who's asking about transferring from one career field to the other, one thing to note is whatever reports or documents that you've been working with, find a comparable system for the new position that you're transferring to. So to Elizabeth's point, the transferable skills are not just about the customer service or the reporting or the management style. Think about what types of management systems would be comparable and include that in your cover letter or in your approach when reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn and say, here's why I'm looking to break into this field. So think about those aspects as well when applying or transitioning to a new career. That might be helpful.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that for sure. Are there any more questions? We definitely don't want to keep you guys too long, but I'm enjoying the company. Actually, it's funny to say we're talking about virtual interviewing. I mean, staying at home, I'm definitely enjoying talking and being able to interact with some of you. And again, we definitely thank each and every one of you for taking time out to join. We actually will host these every other Thursday. So be looking for the next webinar. And if you have any suggestions or anything that you'd like to learn about or see, please feel free to email us, give us a call, tell us on social media, and we would love to get those answered for you too. So I have a question in the question chat. Let's see. Okay, so I answered that one. Perfect. Okay. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions rolling in. I can't thank each and every one of you enough. And again, we're only a click away. So we're going to go down and end the webinar now, but we're not going to end any communication with you all in the future. So we look forward to hearing from you. Let us know how you liked it. What did you like? What could we have changed? What would you like to see in the future? We're here to serve you, and we look forward to working with you. Y'all be safe.